Okay, we're back. This is going to be the analytics portion of my presentation. So we're going to start off with my blog. I blogged under CT Elephant Notes via WordPress. And here are my blog views. So as you can see, the most blog views I got were in November. Obviously, that was the prime, of our campaign. However, I attribute this to the fact that I was doing a lot of election coverage around that time, and I was also posting about our first selectman's victory and the inauguration and posting links to the video, etc. So I really attribute that success to those postings. Um, Even though you could see it says average per day 3 in October, um, it still, shows that there were more views during the month of November. Um, and then as you can see, this is just the overview here of all-time 117 views, 8 comments. Best ever was 27 views on a blog post. That was actually an election blog post. So again, the election had a huge impact on my campaign. So we're just going to go again to more blog views here. You can see what some of my better posts were. Um, my homepage, obviously, because that's where the blogs kind of like show their snippets, so that automatically got the most views. I'm not too surprised by that. GOP gets local victories around the state. That actually got the second most views because I did an overview of the Branford election. I discussed the elections in East Haven as well as New Haven, and I believe I mentioned New Britain, where I believe we elected the youngest ever mayor there, and she is 26. Her name is Erin Stewart, Republican. I actually worked up with her at the Capitol. So it was a huge deal for the party, but GOP got a lot of local victory from the election cycle. Um, and that actually caused a lot of discussion on my Facebook post, which is why I think that those views were so high. And again, why local elections are important. I found something interesting about that one. I think that there must have been some school project that I was tagged in because when I was doing my search query, I found that a lot of people were, I guess, typing in search for why local elections are important. Must have been a class. So that I think that is why that is in the number 3 spot. Um, and then, of course, the fourth spot is my introduction post, again, which I'm not surprised about. So let's go down to clicks, refers, and followers. Yeah, as I was discussing before, the search engine terms, one of them was why voting in local elections are important because. So that sounds to me like a student looking for an answer, and that's kind of why I think, again, local elections, election day 2013. So many of the search terms for my blog came from local elections, elections 2013, and the like, which is I think is pretty unique. And then, of course, my referrers more from Facebook than from Twitter because I have more followers on Facebook. But interestingly enough, more referrers came from search engines with those terms. So some very interesting data here. And then again, you could see that I have 2 followers on my blog, which I mean, I read blogs, but I don't ever follow them. So I'm not sure if that's a number that is very disconcerting because there are a number of blogs that I follow, but I don't follow them via WordPress. I just have them kind of, visit them frequently, have them in my favorites, and I think that's kind of what more people do, which is why I'm not concerned with that number. So going on, let's discuss Facebook. I'm going to start out by saying that Facebook was my most successful venue by far. Um, Even though we only got up to 37 likes, I'm happy to say that those are all organic likes. They were not paid for. They were not solicited. I did it basically all on my own by promoting the page, sharing it with my friends, sharing it with others who have similar um, preferences and my contacts up at the state, my contacts in Brantford. So you could see kind of that the page really grew initially in November around election time. when we first started the Facebook page is when we kind of got more numbers. Then the second time where it grew was around the time that Steve Mezikane commented on one of my posts. I believe it brought like 200 people looking at that post because of his followers and my followers, just seeing that we were commenting back and forth on it. And then the last plug came from this past week when I had shared a status update. I had actually posted incorrect information on my blog about um, Costco plans being submitted to planning and zoning. Funny story with that is I got that report from a supposed reliable news source, Brantford Eagle, and then Steve Mezikane said, "Oh no, don't you know that this wasn't? They never submitted the plans. These were initial plans. I just got off the phone with the developer, so I posted basically correction, just saying, oh, I apologize for this. For us spreading misinformation, and because I had also shared that on my personal Facebook page." We garnered a couple of likes from that too, which is that initial hike right at the end there, as you can see on the bottom. Um, and then again, this is just kind of consistent page likes. And you can see there's one unlike, which again I'm not surprised about because when you're posting political information, there's bound to be someone who gets so fed up with seeing it that they've just had it and they hit unlike. But it's a success that only one person did that, and that's what I view that result as. So let's go talk about my Facebook posts. Um, Post reach, as you can see, was actually fairly good, especially around the time of the election and just starting out. And particularly this last week was when it really hit its peak because of Costco. That's a hot topic in town, and everybody's really, interested in what's going on with that. So that really piqued my reach, and surprisingly enough, um, I'm reaching 200 people with these posts, but I only have a certain amount of likes on the page, and that's because the people who are commenting on my posts or liking the posts, um, they're showing up in their friends' newsfeed, so we're kind of spreading even though we don't have that many likes, which I find very interesting. And again, with my Facebook posts, there seems to be more likes than comments. I think that's kind of, there's a stigma with commenting on political posts on Facebook. You kind of don't want your friends to see it unless you're fairly open about your views or you really just don't care. So there's bound to just be more likes and people, just liking things. And the most came from when I solicited likes about Jamie Cosgrove being sworn in. People were all over that because we all love him. We're very excited about the upcoming 2 years. But then comments really, started to outweigh likes this past week with the whole Costco thing happening. So it's really I believe a toss-up of what the material is that I'm posting. Sometimes I just say, can we get a like for this? And we get likes and we don't get comments. So I view that definitely as a success. And again, you can see here with my total reach, I mean, the election was just such a victory for this page because it brought so much organic traffic there. You can see it definitely peaked with my reach with, around the election, November 3rd, November 6th. Then, it kind of dwindled. It had peaks in boroughs a little bit, but then I think we got a good amount of traffic to even it out coming out of this last week. So let's go over some page activity here. Um, what I find interesting is most of the views were in the timeline, um, and I think that's pretty neat. And I mean, the admin tab, that's obviously me, but the timeline, that's pretty unique. Especially for people that were showing up there, and we have visibility and reach is very good. And really, people posting on the page. Uh, I had this discussion with someone the other day. Do people really post on each other's walls anymore? I mean, to start conversation, no, because everyone's on iMessage, everybody's texting or, tweeting back and forth. And I don't think that unless you're angry or have something really enlightening to say, people don't post on pages as much. We had one person saying good luck Jamie, and that was really about it. That was, and that's where that peak is right there. So um, yeah, but again, I'm not concerned about that because really when I post on someone's page, it's to post a link to an article or something of that nature. I don't really post to say hi or anything like that. So, the Facebook trends over the past 5 years have changed drastically. So again, I'm not concerned about that. Just going over what I felt were my most successful Facebook posts. Like I said, with the election, we had insane numbers here. And then again with Costco, we kind of have even, not matched, but we're getting close to those numbers. So again, my most successful Facebook posts have been things about local issues, and we'll get to that um, in my results. Least successful Facebook posts are when I try to relate things that are going on in the state or around the country to local issues. I found that, I mean, as you can see from the numbers, it has not been successful. The demographics of my Facebook fans. Obviously, I have more women than men. I'm not surprised by this because most of the people who I invited to the group were more women because I have more female friends than I do male friends. However, I mean, you can see here that there appears to be more women on Facebook than men anyway, so these numbers pretty much are match up. We're about 60-40, which is pretty good. I mean, it's almost even. Um, in fact, when I saw this on a side note, I was laughing because that's what the ratio was at both Albertus and Salve when I went for undergrad. So that number just seems to be following me around. But you can see the most people who were engaged were the 18 to 24-year-olds. 28% females were engaged there. Another number that really interested me were that it seems like we had more middle-aged men engaged than the younger generations. You see that 35 to 44, 11%, which is a pretty good number. And I'm guessing that those are the reporter Steve Mezikane's friends who might also be on the page as well, and also probably members of the Brantford RTC. So, again, it's just kind of the difference in numbers is very intriguing because you kind of have, you know, not engaged and all of a sudden engaged. So very interesting. But as you can see with the females, it was kind of a slow, steady, and then again it peaked. So just very interesting with my Facebook fans. And then obviously they're all really more from Brantford, Connecticut area, New Haven, etc. So let's see. Facebook fans reached. Now these numbers are actually a little bit different on this end of things. It seems that the percentage of females to males is a little bit more even. And I mean, as you can see, we have areas in Boston, we have the United Kingdom, we have France on there. So we reached a lot of different demographics, even though this was kind of more a local page. So this kind of proves that maybe we could relate other issues, but because of the data that we see here with my posts, it's probably best to stick with local issues. So again, so we're going to move on, just going over. So the Facebook report for 10/15 to 11/13, this was done via Hootsuite. This just kind of gives you an overview, reiterates everything that we've already said. So at first we garnered 35 likes right off the bat. 6 people talking about this. Weekly reach 181. And then again, you could see here a better close up is, my election was definitely, the election period was when I had the most daily post feedback. So now we're going to go to current. And this is 11/13 to current. Daily post feedback, again, you see it peak there right after the election, and then it kind of drops off during the week of Thanksgiving, and then it goes back, again, this past week. And as you can see, even what's interesting is we gained a couple likes during this final week, 3 new likes, so now we're up to 38. We have more people talking about us. Our reach is up 32.6%. So obviously we're getting steady growth. It has not gone down. So that is it for Facebook. I'm gonna pick back up with the next installation with Twitter in just a bit. So I will see you guys then.